Hey, you crazy cats and kittens. Here we go with part one of personal finance. So the first part of personal finance would be what we call income. Income is money coming in. So you would get your income by getting a job. That's right. So we get our income, the money that comes in from getting a job. And the income that we get, we use to buy things. So income is money coming in, and the money that we call going out to pay our bills and our, all the things that we need to pay for cost of living, those would be called our expenses. So income comes in, expenses go out. Examples of expenses would be like your rent for your apartment or your car payment, or the cost for utilities like heat and electricity, your monthly phone bill, food, all of those things would be expenses. And your income would, of course, be money from your job. So let's talk about that for a second. There's a little bit of a difference between a job and a career. A job is something you get just to pay your bills. So you could have a job when you're a teenager. You could work at Market Basket as a bagger. You could work as a babysitter. You could do lawn mowing for a service for others and get paid. That's like having a job, okay? A career is something that you plan for long term, and it's something that you want to do as like what do you want to do when you grow up? So a career is something that you have to plan for, you have to go to school for, you have to get the skills necessary to do it. You can have just a job to pay your bills, or you could have a career. The goal is to have something that you enjoy. So the goal is to get a career in a field that you like and that you want to spend your time during the day. We all have to earn a living, so hopefully we can earn a living doing something that we enjoy most days. You could also start a business. Starting a business would be a good way to earn an income, but there are a lot of requirements for a business owner, kind of skills and necessary for them to do that successfully. We will talk about that a different week. So depending on your interests, it's important that you find the right job for you. Let's take a look. So it's time to start looking at like what you want to do for a career when you grow up. I know it's only 6th grade, but you're halfway through your public school, and you are going to need to start to think about, well, what education do you need? What kind of grades do you need in middle school so that you're successful in high school, so that you're successful in college? A lot of jobs require college and specialized training. You don't want to get stuck with a job you don't like. You want to start planning now so you can work towards a career. We have a career project that you guys are already working on or done with. We've talked about that career project and how education is important. The more you know, the more you have for an earning potential. You can earn more money by the more skills and education that you have. So it pays to go to college and get a degree because your earning potential will be greater. There are a lot of jobs that have college requirements, and as a part of your career project, you will look at that. Some other jobs, you can get jobs that are out of high school. You can have jobs that are specialized training or a 2-year degree. You'll also learn about those in your career project. Jobs in healthcare are really big because even though as we move to doing things online and buying things online and jobs online, we also know that there has to be a face-to-face contact with some jobs like healthcare. So healthcare is a great field to go into for job security. Now, when you get a job, there's 3 main things that you need to do. The first thing is any job that you get, you have to fill out something called a job application. And that shows what the history of your working world has been like, what jobs you've had in the past. It shows references that can speak to your character, things like that. You, for a professional job, would need to write a resume. And a resume shows your work experience and the qualities that you have that would make you a good fit for that job. And they decide who they're going to interview for a job based on looking at the resumes that come in. And an interview is part of getting a job. The owner of the business or the boss of the company or the person that will be your direct supervisor is going to want to interview you to see how you are with people and how you are as a professional. Do you act appropriately? Do you dress appropriately? Do they think they can trust you to do your job effectively? So let's look first at a job application. A job application is basically you write the education that you've had, high school and college, graduate school. You write those things into the education part of the job application. Whether you've had military service, because military service is experience. So not everything is about education. It can also be about experience that you've had on the job. There's some legal parts of whether you've broken the law, been arrested, or convicted of a crime. That would be important on a job application, and you have to sign and check a box that says that you're being truthful for that. So sometimes when we talk about your reputation and we talk about making good choices, it's very important to make good choices so that it doesn't follow you. When you want to get a job, people want to hire people that are trustworthy and people that follow the rules. So if you get into legal trouble, that could impact your working as well. So just keep that in mind as we're getting older and making good choices. Your employment history is the next section. That talks about where you've worked and how much you got paid and who your supervisor was, so that this job can call your supervisor and see how you were as an employee, which is why you never want to leave a job on bad terms, because when you leave a job on bad terms, you can't get a reference from them. If you walk out and you drop the mic and say, I'm out of here, I quit, you're not going to get a good reference from that boss. And that next boss is going to be looking for good references from your old bosses. So don't burn any bridges. References. References are people that can vouch for who you are as a person, whether you're trustworthy, whether you're honest, whether you're good with people, whether you can do a good job. And those people that you put down for your references can't usually be, you can't just put down your mom as your reference, right? Because your mom is going to automatically say that you're a good person, like, because your mom loves you, right? So you can't put your mom down as a reference. You need to put people that have known you in the course of working. Sometimes for your first job, you would put your teachers down as your references, people that can speak to who you are as a person. All righty, let's see what's next. Rosa Parks, let's chill. All right, a resume. A resume is kind of like a fancy job application. When you're applying for a job that requires a college degree, you usually need to write a resume. And what it does is it gives contact information, it gives the schooling that you've had, any of the job experiences that you've had, and a lot of your awards, honors, and activities, things that make you stand apart from the rest. Because remember, when you're applying for a job, you are applying for a job against a lot of other people. 20 people could apply for the same job as you want. 100 people could apply for the same job that you want. And the person looking to hire is going to weed out those resumes and say, who is my best candidate? Who has the most experience? Who, is the most quality person for this job? The interview. The interview is something you need to do because they need to tell a little bit about who you are in person. So you'll have to go in and interview with the boss or with someone that's going to supervise you. So it's important when you go to your interview that you dress professionally, that you're polite, and you use, not slang, but you use like official language, like when you're speaking to someone in a professional setting. You need to come prepared and be on time, never be late to an interview. That is a bad thing to do. It's an opportunity for you to explain your experience and your background, what you love about your chosen profession, to answer questions and to ask questions. So an interview is very important. All right, let's talk about after you get the job. So once you get a job, you get something called a paycheck. And it's one of those things that you think you get paid. So they tell you when you get your job, you're going to get paid this much a month or this much a year. And it sounds like, oh, wow, that's good. That's a lot. It's not a lot, because what they tell you they're going to pay you is not what you get in your paycheck. And I know that's super confusing, but you have two kinds of pay. Your gross income is what you get paid before deductions get taken out, like taxes. Your net income is actually what's in your paycheck. So your net income is what you actually get to spend, what you get to put into your bank. Your gross income is the total that the company actually pays you. Now, there's money that comes out of your paycheck for taxes, Social Security, Medicare. There's a lot of different things. I'll put a video on later for you to watch about what comes out of your paycheck. Let's take a look at your paycheck. So when you get a paycheck, it'll have your name and your information about you. It'll say how many hours you worked, and then it is going to give your gross pay and your net pay. Gross pay is what they pay you before they take anything out. Once they take out deductions like retirement, health insurance, Social Security, Medicare, federal, state, and local taxes, then you have something called net pay. So here's your gross pay. You might make $1,000, but what you actually take home is $616. So when you get your first paycheck, that is always a surprise. You're like, what? Why am I not making any money? I'm supposed to make $1,000. You make $616 because a lot of those things come out. Now, a lot of those things come out for the future you. So it's money that comes out of your paycheck that later on, when you're a senior citizen, you will get to take advantage of. So yes, you have to pay into your retirement, but that retirement is going to help you when you retire. So that money comes back to you later. Social Security, when you get older and you'll get a paycheck from Social Security, that money is money that came out of your paycheck all while you worked. So when you get older, it's kind of like these things are coming out now from your paycheck, but the future you will get a benefit from that. The future you will get some of that money. Now, taxes go to pay for lots of different things, and we'll talk about that in a different slide. But taxes is something that everybody has to pay out of their paycheck. All right. Worker rights. When you have a job, there's certain rights that you have. You have certain rights for, you have to get paid, right? They have to pay you for your work. No one can ask you to work for free. You have to be able to work in a place that's safe and secure so that you're not getting hurt on the job. So they have to provide you a safe working place. They cannot provide you a dangerous working place. Breaks. You have to have so many breaks every so often. I think it's every 4 hours. I think they're required to give you a 15-minute break. And you're supposed to, if you work an 8-hour day, you're supposed to have a half an hour eating time, but it's different by every state, has different rules. They have to pay you a minimum wage. A minimum wage is the minimum amount they can pay you per the law. So our minimum wage right now is $7.25 an hour. So a company can't hire you and say, yeah, we'll give you $3.50 an hour, right? $3.50 an hour. They can't do that. The law says they have to pay you at least $7.25 an hour. Minimum wage isn't really enough to live on effectively. If you work 40 hours a week, the salary that you make from living on minimum wage, you'd have to pay for mostly what you need and not have much of what you want. So you'd be focused on food, water, and shelter as your main things if you're buying those things. Sometimes there's a job, there's a union, which is an organized group of workers that fight for the collective rights of everybody. And we'll learn a little bit more about that at another time. So a union is a group of workers that basically works with the company you work with to try to negotiate better working conditions and better pay and better benefits. So when you get a job, you might be asked to join a union. You pay dues to that union, so you pay a fee to that union, and then that union represents you and tries to get you better working conditions, better pay, better holidays, better benefits, better health insurance, things like that. And child labor is against the law in our country, so you cannot be asked to work as a child. That's against the law to have child labor. So those are some of the worker rights we have in our country. Now, when you work, you also have worker responsibilities. Those are the things that you need to do as a part of being a good worker. So you need to be on time for work. You need to be professional with your words and your actions. You can't just come in and swear and, say, what up, dog, what up? You can't talk about like that at a professional job. You need to dress professionally or dress for the job. Some jobs have uniforms or special clothing or safety clothing you have to wear. It'll be dependent on what job you have. It's important to be honest and to tell the truth and to be, especially if you're working with money, you have to be honest. You can't just take money because the money is there. You'll get fired pretty fast. So you have to be honest and trustworthy. You need to follow the rules for the company, the business, for safety. You can't just do things that are unsafe. You'll get in trouble if you do unsafe things on the workplace. You have to pay taxes. Everybody has to pay taxes. people don't like to pay taxes, but it's important for our society that we have an income for paying for the things that we need, like policemen and firemen and streetlights and roads and highways, things like that. And you have to, one of your responsibilities is to do the work you've been asked to do. So you don't always have to like your job, but that's part of keeping your job, is being a good worker and doing what you've been asked to do. All right, so quiz time. You're going to need to know the difference between a job and a career. A career is something you plan for long term, something you want to be when you grow up, that takes education and skills. A job, you could have a job, anything, a job here and there doing, just working temporarily, earning money to pay your bills. Education is important for your future life, because the more education and training and experience you have, the more you can get paid. The 3 common requirements during the hiring process would be to fill out a job application, maybe have a resume, and have an interview. What's the difference between gross pay and net pay? Gross pay is before taxes and other deductions have been taken out. Net pay is actually what you get in your paycheck. Why is money taken out of your paycheck? For lots of reasons. Taxes is the biggest reason. Social Security to pay the future you, for retirement, for health insurance, savings, all of those things can sometimes come out of your check in different ways. And what are some worker rights and responsibilities? Rights are the things that you have in terms of being paid, make sure that your workplace is safe. They've got to give you breaks. They can't have child labor. Responsibilities would be things like showing up on time, doing your job, acting in a safe manner, acting professionally, paying taxes. Okay. All right. So you're going to be ready for your quiz. You can go back and watch this again. You can also read the study guide and practice Quizlet. Okay. All right. That's enough for income, getting a job.